The Holy Gospel according to John, the 15th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As a father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I'm giving you these commands so that you may love one another. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Well, Pastor Mitri, I don't know that the phrase fangirl translates into Arabic, but it is a very shorthand, specific U.S. cultural way to express our deep appreciation and honor that you are here with us. Yeah.
No, the honor is mine, and it's great to be here at Grace this morning.
So I wonder if we could start, Pastor Mitri, I know that you carry with you the stories of so many of our Palestinian siblings, but that you also come bearing your own story. And I wonder if you would start with a little bit of that, with a little bit of your own background and your growing up as a Lutheran Christian in the Middle East, and how that faith has shaped who you have become in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was born in Bethlehem. Not Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but I mean, right, the real one. And actually, just across the street from where Jesus was born. I mean, literally across the street. In a Lutheran family. My family has been Christians for centuries. Remember, Christianity started in Palestine, not in Wittenberg. Sorry for Lutherans, but so they have been always Christians, actually Greek Orthodox Christian, but it was my grandfather who lost his parents through an epidemic in the middle of 19th century, and they brought him to a Lutheran orphanage. So he grew up in a Lutheran orphanage and then decided to join the Lutheran Church. And so I'm third generation Lutheran, but Christian for centuries. My family parents were members at Christmas Lutheran Church, where I later became the pastor. I went to study in Germany, did all my studies there, including my doctorate, and then came back and to serve in Bethlehem, actually in my own home congregation, which is a bit weird, but it was like that.
Thank you. So you know a little bit about Grace. This is far from your first time here, so that you know that there are a number of folks who are part of this congregation who have been deeply involved in the work of advocacy and just peace in Palestine and Israel. And there are also a number of us here and online who are very much brand new to this conversation. So recognizing that this is a slightly unfair question because we could talk about this for hours and hours, what are maybe 2 or 3 of the most important things that you would like us to know this morning about the current situation in Gaza and in the West Bank? Maybe any of the salient sort of historical points that have gotten us where we are. What, as a Palestinian, what would you have us know today?
Unfortunately, for the last 100 years, Western countries have been supporting the state of Israel, and at the same time, actually, making sure that the Palestinians will not get their freedom, their liberation. And so for the last 100 years, we have been living under difficult circumstances. I'm a bit over 60 years old, and I have been so far through 13 wars, which means, like every 3 years, 4 years, we have something going on. Nothing like the genocide that is happening right now in Gaza, but so we have in the Holy Land right now 6.5 Jewish people, 6.5 million Jewish people. They have their rights, they have full rights, but there are also on the other side 6.5 million Palestinians that have no rights, including myself, which makes our life very difficult. So, like Bethlehem, if you come to Bethlehem, you will see it's surrounded by 22 Jewish Israeli settlements that have taken 86% of our land. So Bethlehem is like a reservation, like a native reservation, with no access to water, no access to the, very difficult to go out and in right now from Bethlehem, and no rights. And so this is really the problem that we have been facing. My father faced that, I'm facing that, my daughters are facing this, and we keep asking how long. And the answer is easy, actually. The moment the Palestinians will get the rights, equal rights, like the Israeli, we can solve this issue. But unfortunately, for many reasons that I will now not talk a lot about, this is not the case, because Israel keeps getting all the support from Western countries, and so they don't feel that they have a reason to give the Palestinians their full rights. This is in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Well, so your most recent book, Decolonizing Palestine, talks about a lot of things, one of which is this idea of Christian Zionism. And I'm wondering if you could talk about that a little bit with us, Mitri. Again, some folks in the room, that's not at all a new phrase, and for some of us, it's something we maybe hear in the news. Could you tell us a little bit about how you understand Christian Zionism and how that particular way of reading the Bible and understanding Christianity is contributing to an understanding of the state of Israel that's maybe different than the lenses you might offer us?
Yeah, Christian Zionism is really a Christian lobby that supports the colonization of Palestine by Israel. So Christian Zionists, they read the Bible not through the lens of Jesus, the Christ, but through the lens of end time. So these are people who are anxious about Armageddon. They want to see the big battle, the big war happening, and they want to hasten it. And they think by supporting the state of Israel, they hasten the second coming of Christ. A bit weird, right? This is not the way how we, as Lutheran, but even as mainline Christian, read our Bible. And so they support the state of Israel financially, but also they want all the Jews to go back to Palestine. Not because they love them, and this is important, because Christian Zionists are actually the most anti-Semite people, because they want to bring all the Jews to Palestine so that 2/3 of the Jews will be killed there, and the last third will convert to Christianity. So basically, they are calling for the annihilation of the Jewish people. And logic, Israel should not like them, but actually Netanyahu loves them because they provide them with political support on the Hill and financial support. And this is why we think, these are groups who believe in God the warrior. And for us, as Christians, God that revealed himself on the cross was not the warrior. It was actually the God that became vulnerable. So it's a different reading of the Bible, and they keep confusing the Israelites of the Bible with the state of Israel today. And this is our problem as well. So this is, again, you have to read the book, okay? So.
I think what you've just said, though, Pastor Mitri, is really important, this conflation of the state of Israel with the Jewish people. And there are some complicated overlaps and nuances there, depending on, which Jewish neighbor you might speak with. But can you help us tease that apart, even just a tiny bit this morning, the difference between the state of Israel and the Jewish people, where they do overlap, where they don't, and how kind of the political and the religious have gotten intertwined in a way that, of course, about all of the pro-Palestinian encampments that are spreading across college campuses in the U.S., and this sort of consistent call that kind of action is anti-Semitic inherently, right? So help us understand those things in any way, shape, or form in the next, 3.5 minutes.
Okay. So this is even stricter than CNN. CNN, they give me like 5 minutes, and Pastor Heidi is giving me 3.5 minutes. Okay. We'll try to do that. Judaism is a religion that for the last 2,000 years was a religion that did not need a state. Unfortunately, through the Holocaust and pogroms and so on, Jews felt they need a state to protect them, which is understandable. This was part of 19th century national ideas and so on. The problem is that those branches in Judaism who went to Palestine to colonize Palestine, they went with the intention to replace the native people, which are the Palestinians. And they have been, for the last 100 years, trying to replace us. We call this settler colonialism. Other Jewish thinkers and philosophers like Martin Buber and others, they said, no, we go to Palestine, fine, but at the end of the day, we need to reconcile with the native people. We need to share the land on equal footing. That did not happen, unfortunately. And so the state of Israel became, for the last 100 years, a state that really is trying all the time, and now in Gaza, to displace the native people and to take more and more land. So their idea is we take the geography, the land, and we get rid of the demography, the Palestinians. Now this will never work because our people are resilient. We have been fighting all kinds of empires for the last 3,000 years, and no empire was able to get rid of us. Because for us, the land means a lot to us, and that's our homeland. Nobody can destroy that thirst for freedom in our hearts. And I know for people in the U.S., freedom and liberty is something that you cherish so much, right? And this is exactly what we are calling for. So when I'm on the Hill in D.C. and I meet with senators and representatives like I did just 2 weeks ago, and they ask, what do you want? I said, only for the American values to be implemented in Palestine, right? Freedom, liberty, to be able to pursue our life in dignity, to be able to reach the potentials that God gave us. This is exactly what we are calling for, nothing else. But unfortunately, here, especially the media, they keep demonizing us, which is nothing new, by the way. I mean, they have been doing that for the last 100 years.
When you talk about freedom and dignity and the right to pursue that kind of a life, one of the things that I think about is the work and the ministry that's happening at Dar al-Khalima University, of which you are the founder and the president, the only arts and culture university in all of Palestine that had also a campus in Gaza until just about a month ago when airstrikes destroyed that campus. I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about the ways that you see and experience through the students at Dar al-Khalima, the way that art functions as a tool for dignity, a tool for resistance, a tool for freedom, and a tool for hope in the situation in which your folks are living, your people are living.
Yeah, for the last 150 years, we had Lutheran schools in Palestine. I saw that you have here a preschool. So that's part of, I think, our Lutheran tradition. Education was always important for Lutherans. And so we had several Lutheran schools, but we never had a university. And so during my time at Christmas Lutheran Church, we felt a call to start the first and only university in all of Palestine with a focus on arts and culture. We have, believe it or not, over 50 universities in Palestine, Palestinian universities. None of them had a focus on arts and culture. And so people, sometimes they ask me, why arts and culture? Now, I think sitting in this church, you can imagine how important actually arts and culture are for worship, right? Imagine a church without the beautiful music that we heard, without these stained glass windows. I think, if a service without music, without art, it will be very boring. I'm not sure if I will go to church. And so actually the idea started that we wanted to develop a contextual Christian art and music. If you come to Christmas Lutheran Church, where I served for 30 years, and you look at the stained glass windows, you would think that Jesus was Scandinavian. With his blue eyes and blonde hair. Now, maybe as Lutherans, we think Jesus was Scandinavian, either Danish or Swedish or Norwegian or Finnish, But really, for me, it was important to have contextual art, contextual music. And so this is how it started, and then we thought, no, this should be much bigger vision, because arts and culture has a therapeutical aspect. In fact, right now we are the only university in all of Palestine that offer a master's degree in art therapy. If you live in Gaza today, art therapy is so important, and this is actually our displaced staff there, what they are doing is exactly that. But arts and culture is more than that. It has to do with identity. It is through arts, through culture actually, that identity of a people is carved, is developed. And so we want to help shape a dynamic identity of our people. But arts and culture are important as communication tools. Because today you can tell a story through a short video in a much, much more powerful way than a 1-hour political lecture, right? And this is what our students are doing. In fact, one of our students just 2 weeks ago, his film was selected by Cannes Film Festival. You know Cannes Film Festival? They have a competition for student films internationally. And out of 2,200 plus films, 18 films were selected, and his film was selected as one of these 18 films. And so again, you know, through this film and other films, through music, we can tell what is happening to our people today in much, much more powerful ways.
You mentioned art therapy. These little loving hearts that we're wearing in this season actually came to us thanks to an art therapist who's a member of the congregation. So it's kind of a cool connection. So our preaching series this Easter season, Pastor Mitri, has been entitled Loving Hearts, and we've been focused on the text from 1 John. The Gospel of John had sort of similar themes today, that we love God by obeying God's commandments, and that the most important of those commandments is to love one another as God has first loved us. So from your perspective, what is it that we as U.S. Christians, as members of this congregation and community, how can we be in a posture of active love toward our Palestinian siblings in the midst of this incredibly difficult time for our world right now? What does solidarity look like?
Yeah, I think we need your prayers. They keep us going at a time when we sometimes feel maybe it's very difficult even to continue. So please remember us in prayers, and I saw you are praying for our region in the bulletin. So thank you for that. But we hope that you will come and visit us. So this is an open invitation for you to come to Bethlehem. I know that Pastor Heidi was supposed to be there in January, but because of the assault on Gaza, this trip was postponed, not canceled, postponed. So hopefully many of you can join. I mean, if Pastor Heidi goes there, I would love to go with her. So, so sign up today. You can get, 15% deduction. No. This is just. So, but really, I mean, because for us, it's important when we feel people are coming to visit us to see what's going on, because seeing is much, much more powerful than hearing about it. And especially in the media here, they really don't tell our story. Often when I hear the media in this country, not all of it, but many of it, I keep saying, why do these people hate us? So it's not love, it's really hate. I mean, they use all, even now with what's happening in the universities, if you listen, you think the Palestinians are the troublemakers, but actually not. So if you come, you will understand the situation better. But also, we need you to to be informed about what's happening there. And here I would say Bright Stars of Bethlehem, our support organization here, through the newsletter that they give once a month, you can get always a different kind of information, not like what in the media, but really something from first-hand from us in Palestine. And last but not least, it's important maybe to show in this church some of the films that our students are producing, some of the artwork. I'm glad that you had today this song that was written by a friend of us, a friend of my wife. Actually, she wrote the music for this Ya Rabb Salami, O Lord of Peace. So all of this is important, and your support, especially at times like this, is also important because the unemployment rate in Palestine right now is 46%. So every second person is without a job. And so our students have difficulty in paying their tuition. And so any support in that also is more than welcome.
I wish we were CNN so that we could have unlimited time. But thank you, Pastor Mitri, for your time here with us today. But more than that, thank you for your powerful witness to the gospel of love in the midst of a time in our world that feels so marred by hatred and lack of understanding among people. You and our companions in Palestine are truly an inspiration for our own faith here, and we give thanks for your time with us today and for the work of that you and your colleagues are a part of. So would you please join me in thanking Pastor Mitri?